This is my Decoding Fluency and Reading Comprehension Comprehensive Assessment Plan. The group that I'm working with is a third grade resource room group who received 30 minutes of comprehension instruction and 45 minutes of decoding and encoding instruction. This is due to all of the students having an IEP addressing reading disabilities such as dyslexia. The types of assessments that I plan on doing is first the summative assessments. These assessments are important information that is given throughout a student's career in order to track their growth. It also shows based on their learning objectives where they need to be and where they are. These are not flexible assessments. Typically, they are ones that need to be given at a certain time of the year for a certain purpose. They also evaluate the reading programs that are being provided to the students, and it also assesses teacher effectiveness in providing these assessments or these interventions. Sorry. The formative assessments are information that informs the instruction provided to students, and it can be continuous throughout lessons and units. It's not an end result, but it's a point in the right direction for the teacher and knowing that the students are also going in that direction. It can also show you how a student learns based on what type of information was given that day, and it will also foster their motivation because it will allow teachers and students to understand their goals and objectives and track their goals in a way daily or weekly or monthly, something that's quicker and more frequently than summative assessments. So for the summative assessments that I plan on giving is first the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark, which is a leveled reading system, and it focuses on encoding, decoding, and fluency and comprehension. Wilson assessment of decoding and encoding is the next summative assessment I will be giving, and this looks at a student's phonetic awareness, as well as focusing on real words and nonsense words in isolation, phrases, and sentences. So for the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment, my timeline will be February now and June, which is the end of the school year. The purpose of this assessment is to monitor students' independent and instructional reading levels, focusing on the decoding, fluency, and reading comprehension. The data from this information is going into school-based reading monitoring, which compares their abilities to the same age peers, which allows me to know how far off they are from being at grade level in their learning. The application for this program is that it will help me make decisions about my guided reading groups and their student and their comprehension, as well as help me guide their fluency practice activities. It also helps me know if they are achieving their comprehension goals on their IEP objectives. The Wilson Decoding and Encoding Assessment has the same timeline now and the end of the school year, and the purpose is to make sure that I am assessing their decoding and encoding skills, and it tests their abilities in isolation, phrases, sentences, and passages. This data helps me guide the Wilson Reading System, which is the program that I provide to the students for those 45-minute sessions, and it also will help me with the progression of student IEP goals and objectives. I will take this information and it will help me with the progression of their word study skills. It will let me know what I need to teach, reteach, or review, and it also helps me when I have to create their IEP goals and objectives. The formative assessment that I will be giving is A to Z reading passages, which will focus on leveled fluency passages. The quick phonics survey, and the purpose of this will be to check their phonetic skills with nonsense words and within sentences. And my final formative assessment is exit slips, which will help me monitor their learning throughout the units and lessons. So A to Z reading passages I plan on doing weekly in the time between February and June of 2020. And the purpose is so that I can keep track of their decoding, fluency, and reading comprehension before the next FAS or Fountas and Pinnell assessment happens. It gives me an understanding of how they know fiction or versus nonfiction texts. The data that I get will help guide comprehension groups at their instructional reading levels, and it'll also focus on their fluency words per minute. That information I will take and it will help me know what levels I need to be teaching at in my groups in order to make sure that all students are being challenged appropriately. And it also provides me information on whether or not they need to have different or more difficult fluency practice. The Quick Phonics survey timeline will be monthly from February to June because typically in the Wilson reading system that I do with the students, I'm checking in daily with reading words or reading passages, and I'm also giving dictations. But the purpose of the Quick Phonics survey is so that I can do an overall assessment of decoding skills, and that data will help me see how the application of their decoding skills in nonsense words and sentences is progressing, and it'll also help me support IEP goals and objectives. I could take that information and it will give me insight to see if my students are ready for next skills or if I need to make any other instructional decisions about what I need to review or reteach. The final is exit slips, and this is something I try to do at least 2 to 3 times per week. And the purpose of this is so that I can check in with the students and do a quick snapshot of their understanding and learning of topics that I'm presenting to them. I use this to monitor students' short-term progress, and I can take this information and it'll help me make instructional decisions about whether I need to review, reteach, and I can look back at different things that I've presented to them in the past and see how they're holding on to it. I can use it in both the comprehension and decoding and encoding sessions because if we're doing decoding and encoding, it could be as simple as write all the ways you know to say the A sound. And this will let me see if they've picked up on all of these reading and spelling patterns. So in conclusion, student assessment is important for 2 reasons, because it tracks their student growth and it also guides instructional decisions for the teacher. A comprehensive assessment plan is also important to make sure that the summative and formative assessments are balanced to keep track of the student learning. You don't want just those big concrete assessments to track all of their growth. You want to see the little bits in between so that you know if you're going in the right direction. And it also helps you again to guide instruction.